As Deputy Officer Kane rode through the night on the long journey back to Godricshall, a different rider approached the outside gates of House Raven's compound. This rider was short, with light brown hair, and clad dark red silk with a velvet cape. Flanking each side of him was a tall, armored bodyguard, bearing the lion crest of the Duke's family, House Godrickson. A servant of House Raven approached and bowed as he opened the front gate immediately.
"Roderick, sir, please come inside. The High Lord Raven has been expecting you."
Without so much as looking at the servant, Roderick Godrickson, the Duke's teenage grandson, dismounted from his horse with the help of his bodyguards. Without any hesitation or acknowledgement of the servant, Roderick strode through the front gates and took the lead as he found his way deep into the compound. Finally, he arrived at Remus Raven's private quarters, where the High Lord Raven had set out a private feast for the young noble. "Ah, young Roderick, so good of you to grace us with your presence. How's your grandfather?" Roderick sighed as he sat down across from Remus and threw his feet up on the table. His two bodyguards immediately took positions by the door and calmly watched over the conversation with observant eyes. It was clear that these bodyguards were also Duke Godrickson's eyes and ears within the room.
Boring. Same as usual. Meetings, talks, and other rubbish. I'd much rather ride through the streets of the city. Perhaps luck out and kill a thief or murderer or something more interesting."
"Oh, has the young master found a criminal to punish, then?"
"No, unfortunately. I've seen no crime tonight. I broke a man's drums for disturbing the peace, though. You should have seen his face. I just don't get why the common folk would sit around and squalor in that filth every day."
The High Lord Raven nodded his head as a bruised servant meekly brought them a flagon of wine. "They're born into it, I suppose. But perhaps that's why your grace has the station that he holds now, because he's above all the dirt of the commoners."
Bam!
The bruised servant nearly spilled the flagon as Roderick kicked the table with his feet. Roderick cackled at the servant's fearful reactions. Remus frowned and motioned for the servant to exit the room. "Leave us, and take my guards outside with you. I wish to speak to my good friend in private." The servant quickly left the room and shut the door behind her. Roderick took a sip of wine and shook his head as he began to eat. "So, what's all this I hear about House Raven being challenged, eh? What's going on with that?" As Roderick ate, he couldn't help but play with a series of expensive statues that lined the dining area of the room. Food grease coated the statue, and one of them almost fell over as Remus suppressed his irritation with the spoiled boy. "Good Master Roderick, your knowledge knows no bounds. Indeed, my house was challenged by the foolishly weak House Hayfield. However, I suspect that their brazenness is partly due to their close ties to High House Lightstone. Perhaps you've heard of this before?" Roderick looked up from one of the statues he held in his hand. He set it down, but not before wiping pheasant grease onto it. "Oh, really now? I haven't heard such a thing from anywhere in my grandfather's keep. But even so, what's the trouble? They can't really help the Hayfields during a challenge anyways." "So there are no ramblings of this in Duke Godrickson's private quarters? No talk of him speaking the words of Hayfield in the same breath as the Lightstones?" "No, not at all. I doubt the Duke is concerned with any of this at all, really." Remus let out a sigh of relief. Ever since Lord Byron had left for his lands to find a new bride and sire more offspring, Remus had felt alone in his struggle against the Hayfields. The fact that House Lightstone was not a true backer of his enemies was a comforting thought. Now that there was no obvious alliance between the Hayfields and the Lightstones, Remus sought to make such a thing impossible. "That's good to know. I would have thought that the Duke would be extremely concerned with the Lightstones at the moment, considering what's been going on." Roderick frowned as he stopped mid-bite, set down a turkey leg.
"What do you mean? What's been going on?"
"Oh, nothing, young master. I simply thought that House Godricson would already know of the current situation regarding Sir Ian Lightstone and Lady Amelia Hayfield." Roderick set down the turkey leg as his face grew red.
"What? Sir Ian and Ulrich Hayfield's daughter? Speak more of this at once."
"I've only heard rumors, but it seems they've been seen sneaking off together. Mostly it appears that they walk the gardens together at night, whispering sweet nothings in each other's ears, I imagine."
Crack!
Roderick threw a statue bust onto the ground with fury. Immediately, shards exploded out in 100 different directions.
"Blasphemous! I don't believe it."
Roderick snarled at the thought of all this. Normally, he wouldn't think twice about a noble house as insignificant as the Hayfields. But if Ulrich Hayfield's daughter sought to court Sir Ian, that was a piece of gossip that Roderick couldn't ignore. "I'm sorry, young master, but those are in fact things that I have heard. They've even been seen together holding hands in the Central Market, and some have dared to claim to have even heard them spill their feelings towards each other in public. But I digress. This is all shameless hearsay, after all." The corner of High Lord Raven's mouth began to form a smile. Roderick was reacting just as he had wished him to. For although Roderick came from the Duke's own family, and was thus a nobler blood than Remus, he was still a brash young man that could be easily manipulated.
"It may be hearsay, but if you've heard all this, there must be a grain of truth to it. Sir Ian Lightstone, huh? What a pervert. To think my aunt's fiancé would stab her in the back like that, after all the favor that the Duke has given House Lightstone, all just so he could run around on her with some floozy from a fallen house."
"It is an unfortunate reality, Your Grace. Some men, it seems, cannot think with their brains as well as they ought to."
"I mean, what lunacy is this? Not even the Princess of Calandria herself could compete with my aunt's looks, and Sir Ian dares to publicly tarnish her reputation? I'd rather die than let that stand."
Remus smiled as he spoke hollow words to fan the flames in Roderick's heart. "Oh, I'm sure Sir Ian meant no disrespect to Your Grace."
"No disrespect? Does he really take me for a fool? You know, I meant to teach that bastard a lesson about respect a long time ago. But back then my aunt stayed my sword because of her sweet feelings towards him. Perhaps I'll get a chance to duel him yet."
Roderick stood and paced around the room in troubled thought, occasionally sipping from the flagon of wine. The High Lord Raven turned in his chair to face the amped-up teenager. "Even so, Your Grace, it might be wise to wait until you know the truth behind these allegations. Perhaps you might consider confronting him yourself in public." Roderick stopped pacing and smiled sinisterly.
"Remus, you're a genius. The High Lord Lightstone's ceremony for his daughter Donna is tonight. I can go at once and demand he tell me his intentions with this Hayfield girl, and what the truth of all this is. And if he dares to disappoint my aunt, I'll be sure to bring the full wrath of House Godricson down upon them all." Crack!
Roderick punched another statue, shattering it to pieces as Remus simply smiled. "An excellent idea, Your Grace. I bid you good luck with your interrogation." Finally, evening fell over the city of Godricshall, and Nathan went with Amelia towards the Lightstone family compound near the center of town. The entrance was lit up brilliantly with hundreds of candles, as dozens of noble families poured inside. Amelia fidgeted anxiously as they waited in a lineup to get in. She frowned as she looked over at Nathan and realized that he stood empty-handed.
"Oh, Nathan, did you forget to bring the High Mountain Snow Rose? After all that trouble, you better not have left it at home."
Nathan smiled mischievously and then shrugged.
"Rest assured, Amelia, I've got it with me, in a way." "What do you mean, in a way? Where are you hiding it?" "Rest assured, I've brought with us a present that will make you proud, so don't look so embarrassed." "I'm not embarrassed. You're embarrassed." "Amelia?" Okay, fine. Maybe I'm a little nervous, that's all. I've been to a party this opulent before, and Sir Ian would be disappointed if we didn't bring the flower after all that mischief at the shop." "Don't worry. I guarantee you he won't be disappointed with what I've brought."
Before Amelia could respond, the line sped up and they were soon led by servants into the main hall of the Lightstone family's compound.
Door creaks open. Festive bard music begins.
The space blew both Hayfield siblings away with its sheer opulence. Candles lit up the high ceilings of the hallway in a variety of rich-colored hues. Jesters, snake charmers, fire-eaters, and acrobatic dancers attracted large crowds of nobles, while servants set down an endless number of silver dishes onto long rows of silk-draped tables. Meanwhile, a troupe of bards played festive tunes on their flutes, drums, harps, and fiddles. Amelia and Nathan froze as they struggled to take it all in. The sounds and sights immediately overwhelmed them, as too did the smells of roasted duck, pheasant, pork, and lamb. "Nathan, Amelia,
I'm glad to see you made it."
Both siblings turned to see Sir Ian Lightstone approach and welcome them into the party. Nathan shook his head in amazement.
"You sure weren't kidding when you said you were busy preparing for this."
"No, I was not." Then Sir Ian awkwardly turned to face Amelia. "Hi, Amelia. I was wondering if you'd like to follow me around for a bit. You know, since most of these people here are noble classmates of my sister, you likely won't know most of them. Perhaps you'd like to meet my mother?" Sir Ian beamed at Amelia as she smiled back at him. He knew that if anyone could change his father's mind on the matter of his arranged marriage to Bella Godrickson, it would be his mother.
Perhaps I would, Sir Ian, although—"
What's wrong, my lady?"
"It seems my brother forgot to bring our gift tonight. I'm terribly ashamed. I wished to present it to your sister myself. I ought to have just given it to you when we were at the shop."
Sir Ian frowned and placed a comforting hand on Amelia's shoulder. "Please, don't fret. You can always grab it later. Besides, I already told my mother you planned to give Donna the High Mountain Snow Rose, and she's already thrilled."
"Is she really?"
"I swear it, Amelia. Don't worry about it." Amelia smiled as she looked deeply into Sir Ian's eyes. Nathan nudged her in the shoulder.
"Go on then, sis. You two have some fun. I'll be fine exploring the party myself."
Amelia hesitated for a moment, then nodded.
"Well, all right then. I'll see you later, Nathan."
Amelia then took Sir Ian's hand, and together the two of them ran off into a back room somewhere at the end of the hall. Nathan sighed and casually strolled around the hall. Most noble houses could fit a large number of people. This one was particularly impressive. Well over 200 guests had already arrived, and the space wasn't even half full. Most of the guests gathered in groups of twos or threes and ran around the hall as they whispered and shouted dramatically. These were likely Donna's classmates from the Academy of the Ancient Edge, and Nathan did not know any of them as he passed by them on his own. Many of them whispered to each other as he passed, but he didn't bother listening to them as he stared at the ancient tapestries that told the story of House Lightstone. He did notice, however, that their accents and manner of dressing reflected the fact that many of them were from Harold's land, and not Godric's-landers. Nathan vaguely remembered Sir Ian once mentioning that the Lightstones had many close ties to Harold's Land, and that Donna's spiritual fighting academy was based there. Finally, his attention refocused on a few hostile gazes aimed at him from the Harold's Land warriors. Word of his duel with Boris had already traveled far, it seemed. Nathan sighed as he channeled the power of Asura and began to listen in on what exactly they were whispering about.